Psalm 66. So today we're just gonna go over this passage. We're gonna give it a little summary at the beginning, and then we're gonna go into the 5 key points of this passage. Start off with the summary. We have God is worthy of praise because of his almighty works, his faithfulness during times of testing, and his personal care in answering prayer. So basically, he turns our trials into testimony. First key point we have for this passage is verses 1 through 4, which is call to praise. So what these verses are talking about is it emphasizes how powerful and awesome God is. Even his enemies cringe before him. The second key point we have is verses 5 through 7. So the second key point that we have is verses 5 through 7, which talk about God's mighty acts. So in these verses, they talk about reminder of God's miracles in history. So pretty much it goes back in history about what all good God has done. And then we have no one can rebel against him without consequences. So no one can talk trash or bad about God without consequences happening to them, like something bad happening to them. So the third key point we have is verses 8 through 12, which is God's testing and faithfulness. So these verses talk about the people are told to bless God for keeping them alive and safe. So basically, it's just making us realize that God is the reason why we wake up in the morning. So if you don't have anything to thank God for, thank him for that, because he's the reason why you're on this earth right now, still living and breathing. The fourth key point we have is verses 13 through 15, which is personal worship. So David brings offerings and fulfills promises made during troubles. So this verse is pretty much just telling us about how David is showing us and telling us how he worships to the Lord. You see, back then they did all these sacrifices and stuff. Like in the Bible times, they sacrificed so much stuff to worship God. But not a lot of people do that nowadays. So, like, how do you worship now? Like, it's also asking you that. Like, what do you do to worship God? I know a lot of people usually listen to worship music. I mean, that's a really good way. I do that myself. And some people like to read the Bible for worship, doing Bible studies a lot. I mean, there's so many different ways people worship nowadays. So the final key point we have for this passage is verses 16 through 20, which is about personal testimony, which David shares about his testimony, which I'll read for you guys right now. So it says, "Come in here, all who fear God. Let me tell you what he has done for me. I cried out to him with my mouth. His praise was on my tongue. If I had cherished sin in my heart, the Lord would not have listened. But God has surely listened, and he has heard my prayers. Praise be to God, who has not rejected my prayer or withheld his love from me." So that is what David's pretty much was telling us about in his testimony. So he cried out to the Lord. He thought the Lord wouldn't hear his prayers, but the Lord heard what he had to say, and he fulfilled the prayers that David has asked for. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys got a little bit out of this Bible study for Psalm 66. And I just want to apologize for not posting every day anymore. I mean, it's starting to get that busy time of the year right now where school's getting ready to start up. I start sports practices up again. So we might not be able to post every day, but I will try to post at least 3 to 4 times a week for you guys. So yeah, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you all have a great day. I love you all. God bless.